Bismillah, wal alhamdulillah, wa salawat wa salam ala rasulillah wa alihi wa sahbihi wa min wala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters and excellent
Walaikum
colleagues
salam
all
warahmatullahi
over the world,
wabarakatuh.
I pray you all are well. I pray your families are well. We're very honored and pleased that you guys have joined us today for this very important lecture that we're doing today with Ustad Yunus, inshallah. First and foremost, I want to thank my colleagues, dear Sister Tri and Sister Nadira and Sister Dania, Sister Fatima, Sister Mediha, for doing all the back end work when it comes to all of our international lecture series. We're forever indebted for your work, dear sisters. I also want to thank all of our colleagues in ISIP, the International Students of Islamic Psychology, and our Futuwwah Academy of Sacred Manhood and Sacred Womanhood, and all of our affiliated initiative for the tremendous efforts and you guys are doing in your khidmah as part of reviving Islamic psychology and Futuwwah into our contemporary era. We're forever indebted to all of your work. Brothers and sisters, thank you as always for joining our international lecture series. This will be one of our final lectures before the summer vacation, inshallah. We will still do two more lectures. We usually conduct our lectures twice a month, the last Saturday of the month and the second Sunday of the month. But moving forward from September, we will do our lectures twice a month, the second Saturday of the month and the last Saturday of the month. So the timings will be changed a bit and more information will be shared with all of you, inshallah. Also, dear brothers and sisters, just briefly, some of you have not received the link through email. Our sincere apologies. We will try to figure out why that happened. I think maybe for some of you who registered quite late, that might be the issue because our colleague, Sister Nadira, she emailed out the link a couple of hours ago, but maybe some might have missed out. Nevertheless, the lecture will be uploaded to our YouTube channel within a couple of days, and then you guys can benefit from it afterwards, inshallah. All right, without any further ado, I will now start to present our lecture for today. Please feel free to introduce yourselves in the Zoom chat, your brothers and sisters. And we're very honored and pleased to have you all with us. And thank you so much for giving out of your precious time to benefit from the sacred knowledge that we try to disseminate through some of the leading scholars and practitioners in the field of Islamic psychology and beyond. All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we'll start today by reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, and then we will go through some guidelines with regards to our international lecture series generally. After that, we will do our lecture with Brother Yunus Paul Pringle, and we will close with some Q&As as well in the end, where you guys can ask your questions in the Zoom chat, and we will address them to Ustad Yunus at the end of the session today. Just some aspects of Zoom etiquettes, dear brothers and sisters. You can always have your cameras on. It's always nice to see that we're such a diverse movement with members from all over the world. This is a blessing of digitalization, honestly. So it's really, really exciting to see that we're so many people representing so many nationalities and countries and different time zones. So have your cameras on if you want. Use the gallery view. No recording or screenshots are allowed, dear brothers and sisters. We will ask for the permission from Ustad Yunus if we can share his PowerPoint to all of you who registered to the lecture today. And as I mentioned, the lecture will be uploaded on ISIP's YouTube channel within a couple of days. And if you want to rename yourself, that's always nice. Add the country of your origin, just so that we see how many beautiful countries and nationalities we represent as a sohbah. Jazakallah khairan, brothers and sisters. Utilize the chat option for any questions. We will address the questions to Ustad Yunus at the end of the session. And feel free to use the live transcription if you need live transcriptions. You can use the more button in the bottom end of the Zoom application that you're utilizing, and then you just request, and we will give you access to the live transcriptions as well. A little bit about us, dear brothers and sisters, as a movement and organization. ISIP, the International Students of Islamic Psychology, and our Futuwwah Academy of Sacred Manhood and Sacred Womanhood. We try to be an inclusive space designed to connect people with diverse backgrounds interested in topics within the framework of Islamic psychology, Futuwwah, and many other topics and themes as well. We aim to disseminate knowledge and share resources and discuss best practices in a free and accessible manner. And we try to also be a platform to enable further development of people's personal and professional interests, studies, and understanding of Islamic psychology, Futuwwah, and other topics and themes within their communities and countries of origin. And ways that you guys can connect with us and join our movement, dear brothers and sisters, feel free to join our Islamic psychology WhatsApp groups. We will share the links in the Zoom chat throughout the session. There's where in these groups you can connect with others who share the same interest as you and also to benefit from resources generally. If you want to become a member of ISIP, please join our website, www.isip.foundation, where you can get access to our digital library and many other things if you become a member. And membership is also free of charge. Feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We have hundreds of lectures there in different topics and themes that might be relevant for your own personal studies or work. And follow us on all of our social media handles. We will be very delighted to connect with you. And we have over 30 local and regional chapters all over the world, dear brothers and sisters. So if you guys want to join our local chapters, if there is no chapter in your country and you want to establish one, feel free to reach out to us through our email as well at contact@isip.foundation. Finally, a brief presentation of our lecture today. Our aim is to learn from Ustad Yunus, inshallah. Also, we will really recommend you guys to buy Ustad Yunus' book. He's going to speak a little bit about his book as well. Also, our aim is to establish a task force within the ISIP and the Futuwwah Academy, where we want to work with how to deal with addiction, theoretically, psychologically, but also intervention wise. And I just had a very beautiful meeting with Ustad Yunus, and inshallah, we will work together to really disseminate knowledge, but also to build resources when it comes to dealing with rehabilitation, addiction work, etc. And we have a lot of colleagues within our movement that are very interested in this topic. We have Brother Lukman from Germany, Brother Mohammed Bilal from Pakistan. And if you are interested in working with addiction, brothers and sisters, we will recommend you guys to join this task force that we will establish after the session. We will share the link in the Zoom chat as well for you to join the WhatsApp group for that task force, inshallah ta'ala. All right. This is just some QR codes. And without any further ado, we're going to listen to Ustad Paul Yunus Pringle today. Ustad Yunus' life has been marked by a deep personal journey through struggle and transformation. Battling early challenges with alcohol, depression, and anxiety, he embarked on a quest of self-discovery and authentic masculinity. His path led him through the 12-step recovery programs, therapy, and the profound experience of masculine initiation. He undertook extreme adventures across deserts, mountains, and Arctic regions, ultimately finding spiritual fulfillment in Islam. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. With decades of experience in education, counseling, and cognitive development, Ustad Yunus returned to Scotland in 2018 with his wife, and since then he has shared his insights on addiction recovery and holistic well-being through writing and public speaking. He's the author of God of the Wild Places and Hope for the Muslim Alcoholic, and is currently working on a book about Islamic perspective on noble masculinity. And actually, our conversation that we had today was about Futuwwah and sacred manhood. So this is parts of the tremendous efforts that Brother Yunus is doing to really normalize these traditions that we have had in Islamic thought throughout centuries into our contemporary era. And we will love to learn from him and support him as a movement as well, inshallah. So yes, we would love your feedback. We will share the feedback from in the end. And without any further ado, let me just stop sharing my screen. And we're looking forward to listen to Ustad Yunus as he will speak about hope for the Muslim alcoholic and addict, 12-step recovery in the light of Islam. So without any further ado, Ustad Yunus, the floor is yours. Bismillah. Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much, brother Syed. You're very generous. You referring to me as Ustad. It's not how I think of myself. It's I'm I suspect I'm among some very esteemed and accomplished people today. So I'm just a Muslim who has certain specific knowledge which I would like to share, inshallah. Um, It's a huge subject. It is a huge subject, but I would hope to give you some flavour of the knowledge that I have gained over 36 years. Um, I grew up in Scotland. There is a major issue with addiction, particularly alcohol addiction, but not exclusively alcohol addiction. There's a kind of black humour exists in 12-step fellowships, and you often hear it said that you don't have to be Scottish or Irish to have an alcohol problem, but it certainly helps. Um, so it was my case, and it is an issue in this country. Another thing about being from a Scottish Irish background is I've made copious notes in preparation for this session today, and I will probably ignore all of them. But I do hope to share something useful. I'm going to now share my screen with you, so bear with me for a second. Um, is that working, Brother Syed?
Yes, it works for yes, it works, Brother Yunus. Please go ahead.
That's fine. That's fine. No, I apologize, but I can't. I can't. All I can see here is my own PowerPoint, so I can't gauge any reaction or anything. So please bear with me with that. Um, what I would like to do is begin Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and to set my intention to be of service today. Ya Allah, glad that this session may be a benefit to all of us here present, and that the knowledge shared may find its way to easing the suffering of people who in our ummah who are afflicted with addiction. Any benefit which does come from my input today is from Allah, and forgive me for any error I make, which is mine. Um, an important caveat before we begin. I'm assuming that anybody who seeks to use these ideas in their own uh, program of recovery from alcoholism is in a stable condition medically. I'm not a doctor. Medical intervention may be necessary or at least advisable in order to deal with the sometimes serious toxic effects of alcohol, particularly if the individual is still using alcohol or has stopped using alcohol very recently. That's very, very important. I must underline that. What I seek to do today is to build a bridge between two worlds, the Islamic worldview and the recovery program from alcoholism, which was developed by Alcoholics Anonymous in the early 20th century in the United States. I view these two approaches, the two ways of viewing the world, as compatible. They are both transformative processes. It's interesting that this gathering today is taking place um, while Hajj is going on. Hajj is a transformative process. The people who have encountered, who on returning from Hajj are different people. Something interior has been transformed. I think I think we are in error if we view um, our deen as kind of transactional. If I do this, if I take this action, I will get this reward. I try to view it more as a my deen as a transformational process. So transformative, not transactional. And as we will see, hopefully, um, the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous has that same intention. It's to transform the individual, to take them from um, a very negatively introspective, me, inflated nafs self to a self which looks out to the world and seeks to be of service. So it transforms the very way the human being experiences the world and their place in the world. Um, now, I speak from a place of experience. I stopped drinking alcohol many years ago, when I was 25 years old, so 36 years ago, um, because it had beaten me, it had broken me. Um, and this is an essential component of the recovery process, is that brokenness, which I will go on to speak about. Um, so I speak from a place of experience. Now, in that 36 years of experience with 12-step recoveries, 12-step recovery groups, and meeting thousands and thousands of people in the process of recovery, I have met very, very few Muslims. Now, that's interesting. Alcohol, as we know, is haram. Um, so I suspect that the problem of alcohol addiction in the Muslim community is probably less severe than it is in society more generally. But I think we are naive and we are in error if we think that just because alcohol is haram, it does not, alcoholism does not affect the Muslim community, because I know for a fact that it does. Um, in the short time that we have today, I'll only be able to touch on this subject. It's a vast subject, and as Brother Syed said, please take a look at the book if you want to take a kind of a deeper dive in. Please take a look at this. I believe Dr. Afsar Siddiqui, uh, the managing director of Taha Publishers, is with us today. I'd take the opportunity to thank her for her invaluable work in putting this book together. So please take a look at that if you want to take a deeper dive into this. Um, yes, we're naive. I met very few Muslims in that time. Why? I think shame is a big part of it. Uh, Addiction, shame comes with addiction anyway. Addicts feel a sense of shame, and I think that's exacerbated in the case of the Muslim alcoholic, who knows deep down that alcohol is haram and they shouldn't be drinking it anyway. So the shame is doubled up, and but that can block access to recovery, because it can get in the way of the honesty and open mindedness that's required to recover. Um, I think it's important. I wanted to put a slide in about this. It's important to address directly the family and friends of the alcoholic, because alcoholism has an impact beyond the individual who drinks. It creates a kind of vortex. The drinker creates a kind of vortex around himself, which sucks everybody in, sucks those close to them in, and harms them. And those people can become very ill also, and sometimes feel that they are somehow to blame for the alcoholic's drinking. If only I loved more intensely, more fiercely. If only I kept the kids quiet from causing any problems in the house. If only I did this. If only I did that. If only. If only. The family are not to blame. But sometimes an addict will actively exploit that sense of responsibility and actively blame. It's your fault. I'm only doing this because of you. If you did this, if you did that, if you didn't do this, then I wouldn't have to drink. And that's inappropriate. It's inaccurate. It's inappropriate. The family, the friends, those close to the drinker are not to blame. They are not to blame. But the illness of alcoholism is a family illness, and to use the words of sort of kind of medical terminology, if you like, it infects. It can infect a family, and the family can become unwell also, even though it's not their fault. So The 12-step process can also be of benefit to families. And there is an organization called Al-Anon, which is specifically for family and friends of the alcoholic. And they use the same 12-step process to find healing for themselves and get their own needs better met in the world. So I wanted to address that right from the outset. It's very, very important that we need to think about the families and friends of the drinker also. Right. So I want to talk about um, better understanding the nature of alcoholism from the 12-step perspective. Um, and I want to talk about practically embarking on a road of recovery and the maintenance of sobriety. But I'm going to endeavour to to demonstrate the compatibility with an Islamic worldview, and I'm going to try and use language and connect the 12 steps with Islamic principles explicitly. Because I think that they're both transformational processes, and I think the compatibility is there and easy to see. So this is the basic outline for our session together. I'd like to tell you a story. Might sound like an odd thing to do, but I think this story, which is the seventh voyage, excuse me, of Sinbad, is full of ready metaphors for addiction. Um, it's I'm not gonna kind of unpack the story in detail and tell you this means this and this means that and this means the other, because I don't think stories work like that. I believe there are metaphors in there, and each of you will connect with the metaphors in your own way. But I do think stories are very, very useful because they speak directly to people's hearts, and they offer a different type of understanding. So let me tell you the story. In a small inn, in a little harbour, many, many, many years ago, a group of people were gathered and they were listening to Sinbad telling the story of his seventh voyage. Now, on this particular voyage, Sinbad wasn't just a deckhand or a sailor, as he had been on previous voyages. He was the captain of his own ship. He had gathered together merchants and sailors from all the corners of the known world. And he had filled the hold of the ship with goods to be traded. And they set off with great optimism on their journey. But the seas were rough and storms blew up, and they were blown way, way, way off course. And they became hopelessly lost. And their supplies began to run low. They were running out of food, they were running out of water. And just when they reached the point of complete despair in their hunger and in their thirst, a cry came from the crow's nest, "Land, ahoy!" And they looked, and with great joy they saw that there was indeed land, and they sailed towards that land. And they moored the ship and went ashore. And soon they found fresh water, and they filled their barrels with fresh water and took them back to the ship. And then they started to look for food. And they came across a huge egg, 10 times the size of an ostrich egg. And they started to move it back towards the ship. But Sinbad said, no, 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 because he had seen such an egg on one of his previous voyages, and he knew this egg belonged to a ferocious, huge bird called a roc. And he said, leave that egg and return to the ship. Now, they obeyed his order to return to the ship, but they could not relinquish the egg. They would not let it go. They took the egg back to the ship, and when they had sailed what they thought was a safe distance from the island, they started to hack at the egg with their swords to get at the nourishment inside. And it was at that point that a huge shadow fell over the deck of the ship, and they looked up, and in terror, they saw the mother rot in her anguished fury, and she dropped huge rocks onto the deck of the ship, and they splintered the masts and destroyed the hull of the ship, and soon the ship was at the bottom of the sea with all of its crew except Sinbad. Sinbad clung to a piece of wreckage, but the seas washed him here and there, and he had no control over where he was going. He was completely at the mercy of the waves until he was washed onto the shore of an island. And when he looked up, this island seemed like a paradise. There were clear crystal rivers for him to drink from. And there were trees full of fruit which hung really low. It was really easy to get to. And then he saw an old man standing by a stream, pointing at some of these fruit trees. And Sinbad looked and he thought, well, he looks harmless and he might be able to help me to get home. So I will help him. But as soon as the old man climbed onto Sinbad's shoulders to cross the river, he tightened his legs round Sinbad's throat because he was not a harmless old man. He was a demon. And he tightened his grip around Sinbad's throat until Sinbad was powerless to resist. And the old man, the demon, made Sinbad carry him across deserts and through rivers and through thorny forests until Sinbad thought he would work him to his death. But then Sinbad had an idea. He made up a potion and he pretended to drink the potion. And the old man, the demon, watched him. And the potion seemed to make Sinbad's tasks easier for him, and it seemed to give him a lightness of heart and an ease. So the demon insisted that Sinbad made up the potion for him, but Sinbad poisoned the potion. And it made the demon's head swim, and it lost all his power, and he released its grip on Sinbad's neck. And Sinbad turned and killed the demon and escaped to the beach, where he was rescued by a ship. So Sinbad was safe again, but he'd lost his fortune. On the way back to the harbour, the ship stopped off at an island with huge coconut trees. Sinbad had an idea. He told the crew of the ship to throw stones at the monkeys who lived high in the coconut trees, and the monkeys became enraged. They didn't have any stones to throw back, so they threw the coconuts, which were easily gathered from the beach. And they loaded them on the ship and they sold them on the way back to the harbour. They stopped off at various ports, sold the coconuts, and made a fortune. And Sinbad had his share of the fortune, which he gave to a poor porter who worked in his home harbour. And every night, that porter went to the inn to listen to Sinbad tell the tales of his adventures. Now, nobody sets out in life with the intention of becoming an addict. Most set out with hope and optimism, but either through greed, like the greed for the roc's egg, or circumstance, where some people end up alcoholic. And I will talk about the difference between a normal drinker. I mean, I don't believe drinking alcohol to be normal as a Muslim, but there is a distinction between the addict and the non-addict, which I will speak about. So adverse circumstance or greed or some genetic component leads to drinking and the consequences of drinking. We can see the consequences in the story. And then the chaos that ensues and the sense of being at the mercy of the sea that Sinbad finds himself in. The old man, it's tempting to characterize the old man, the demon, as alcoholism, but alcoholism is inside the individual. It's not about circumstances. It's not external. It's alcohol is in bottles, but alcoholism is in people. So the old man, so Sinbad becomes enslaved as the addict becomes enslaved to the object of their addiction. And the monkeys, the impetuous, angry, chaotic monkeys up in the trees. I mean, that's a clear characterization of the chaotic existence of the addict. It's a complex issue. Like, I mean, the Sinbad stories come from the 1001 Arabian Nights, which, as many of you will know, are stories within a bigger story. So alcoholic drinking is merely the surface level, the surface symptom, if you like, of a deeper dis-ease. Why do people drink alcohol? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what is alcoholism. Why do people drink alcohol? People drink alcohol because it changes the way they feel. It changes the way they feel.
I didn't have a Zoom meeting. It's a Zoom.
And sorry, dear brothers and sisters, if
Yep.
you guys can just mute yourself when you join the session, we would appreciate it. Please forgive us, Ustad Yunus. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Thank you. No problem. No problem. People drink alcohol because it changes the way they feel. They feel. Now, here we get to the essential difference. One of the essential differences between a normal drinker, someone who is not addicted to alcohol, and the alcoholic. We all have, throughout history, people have naturally moved away from pain and discomfort and moved towards ease and comfort. But people have worked to create greater ease and comfort. They've built shelter, they've gathered food, they've fabricated clothing, they've gone hunting to provide food for their families. Now, when these things are done, when this effort is invested, one has the comfort of food and shelter, but also one has the reward of feeling that sense of achievement and having provided and having created shelter, ease, comfort. But with the addict seeks to go straight to the reward without the investment of the effort. So the addict tries to short circuit that reward process, which ends in disaster. But alcoholism, the difference, alcoholism does not. People, there's a misconception about this. Just by removing alcohol, if somebody is through either circumstance or genetics or adverse childhood experiences or trauma, has ended up drinking alcoholically, something changes. A line is crossed, and one can't step back over that line. It won't go away just with the removal of alcoholism, because it's a twofold illness. There is the physical allergy, an allergy being defined in this case as an abnormal reaction to alcohol once it goes into the alcoholic's system. Alcohol is processed differently. And what happens is stimulates the phenomenon of craving. So once alcohol is in the system, the alcoholic loses all power over how much alcohol they consume. They just want more and more and more. One drink is too many. 100 drinks is not enough. Um, the alcoholic won't stop drinking until the money goes, or they collapse, or or they're arrested or hospitalized. This is the nature of the illness. But many people recognize that there is a loss of control over how much alcohol is consumed. But what people don't understand, and what I didn't understand for a long time, was the other side of the coin, the mental obsession. So in the absence of alcohol, the alcoholic experiences restlessness, irritability, discontent, like intense emotional disturbance and mental disturbance. Now, what is natural, as I've said, that people want to move away from pain and discomfort. So the alcoholic seeks relief from that restlessness, irritability, discontent, and all that pain and anxiety and fear. Fear is a very common thing amongst alcoholics. Where does the alcoholic go to? Goes to alcohol to relieve those unpleasant feelings. And fitra, the natural state of the human being, is covered up. Alcoholism is progressive. This is important. It never gets better on its own. It will always get worse. It's entropic. The second law of thermodynamics states that everything in the universe will fall to a more disordered state. And that is true of alcoholism as well. It's always going to get worse. So there's a kind of gravity which pulls the alcoholic downwards. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam kind of hinted at this idea, not specific to alcoholism, but this general idea of entropy, of things falling to a more disordered state. When he said that the best of people are those of my generation, and then those who will come after them, and then those who will come after them. So it's gradually, society is the quality of society is becoming worse. I believe addiction and alcoholism and addiction, and these are strong words, but I think we can characterize it as a lesser form of shirk. Why do I say that? Where does the alcoholic place their hope, their faith? Where does the alcoholic go for relief from the challenges and the difficulties and fears of life? The alcoholic goes to alcohol rather than to Allah, the true source of comfort, the true source of guidance and ease. So it's a lesser form of shirk, because the alcoholic makes an idol of alcohol, or the addict makes an idol of the focus of their addiction. And ultimately makes an idol of self. The Surah Al-Furqan, have you not seen him who has taken his whims and desires as his God? So that this is to me is a description of the addict. Let's move on. Yeah, there is a difference between the kind of secular scientific approach. It's kind of the modern secular scientific approach. It's still rooted in that positivist idea that there's a kind of reality out there, and like the universe as a kind of mechanism, and our job is just to measure stuff, and that's at odds with the Islamic paradigm, but it's also at odds with the 12-step recovery program, which is entirely predicated. Both are entirely predicated on that relationship with a higher power. We must. The next world, in order to travel to the next world, we must travel through this one. But there's an entirely different orientation, and that transformative process of the 12 steps which seeks to bring about a spiritual awakening in the individual, is in my view entirely compatible with an Islamic orientation to recovery and to life. Let me see what else I've got here. Yeah. I've just made a little note here, and I think it's worth saying that once the alcoholism isn't it's often seen as just a moral issue, or a simple matter of willpower. And I think that's to misunderstand the nature of the illness, and I believe it to be an illness. Yes, it's true that the drinking alcohol and alcoholic drinking create moral chaos in an individual's life, and the individuals, not only do they lose control over how much alcohol they drink, they also lose control and power over how they behave. It does wreak havoc morally. But the alcoholic is drinking. Once they put alcohol into their system, they're drinking alcohol out of a compulsion that is beyond their control, beyond human control. They are powerless to resist alcohol once they put it into their system. So it's not. To think of it as just a moral issue is to oversimplify the alcoholic is not a bad person. The recovering alcoholic, the one who has reached that point of rock bottom where they want to get well, and earnestly want to get well, is not a bad person trying to get good. They're a sick person trying to get well, and I think that's an important distinction. Right. 12-step program is fundamentally concerned with bringing about a spiritual awakening. The last of the 12 steps, I know it seems back to front, but I think this is a useful way to view it. The last of the 12 steps, the culmination of the 12 steps, states that having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and practice these principles in all our affairs. Right, so it's the purpose of the 12 steps is to bring about a spiritual awakening. God consciousness, taqwa. That's what it's for. Which again I believe is entirely compatible with an Islamic worldview. So if viewed through an Islamic lens, the 12 steps can be seen as a process of making tawbah in order to be restored to a more fitri state, in that sense of taqwa, God consciousness. It's not, the 12 steps are not a cure for alcoholism. Recovery, sobriety is contingent on the individual's spiritual condition. It's a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of the individual's spiritual condition. Just a little a quote on fitra, this fitri state, which I'm sure we're all familiar with. Do you not see that everyone in the heavens and the earth glorifies Allah, as do the birds with outspread wings? Each one knows its prayer and glorification. Allah knows what they do. So the process of the 12 steps is about bringing us back to that state, restoring that state. That's what it's for. So this is a really kind of brief summary of that process. And I'm going to go on. I'm going to break down the actual. I'm going to look more closely at the 12 steps themselves. But this is a kind of like a real, really concise summary. So seek Allah, purify your heart, and then be of service. And so it's like, it's like moving from fitna to fitra. Fitna is usually used to describe conflict between groups of people or between individuals. But I think in the addict, the alcoholic, there's a kind of inner fitna, an inner tension, an inner conflict, which needs to be healed. And the individual needs to be brought back to that fitri state, the way the way we are meant to be, the way we are created to be. And from Jahiliyyah to Tawheed. And why do I talk about Jahiliyyah in the context of alcoholism? Well, what is Jahiliyyah? Jahiliyyah it was the age of ignorance prior to the coming of the message of Islam. And but what is the alcoholic ignorant of? The alcoholic is ignorant of the true nature, the reality of their circumstances, the reality of the situation they have found themselves in. Entirely ignorant of that. You know, many of us will have heard about the concept of denial. So, despite all the evidence to the contrary, despite all the evidence of past disasters resulting from drinking, the alcoholic has a kind of blind spot, is able somehow to kind of filter that out and say, oh, it'll be different this time, and to justify and rationalize why it's actually somehow acceptable for them to drink. So that's what the addict is ignorant of, until they reach the point of rock bottom. Now, this idea of rock bottom is, again, it's something it's often misunderstood. It's for people who don't who are looking in from the outside, who have never experienced addiction. It seems almost cruel to insist before recovery can commence that a rock bottom has to be experienced. But I would view the rock bottom as a mercy from Allah. It's that gift of desperation. And what happens is it's, you know, I'm often minded of Al-Ghazali's experience, and it seems like outrageous to use Al-Ghazali's experience as a template for looking at what, you know, the experience of an alcoholic. But Ghazali had reached this place of high esteem, very, very highly respected, very, very accomplished in his field, and but he had a kind of spiritual crisis where he realised that none of that meant anything. He had to go, and he had to go off searching for years and years and years, to get to the truth, to get to the truth of an internal knowledge of his relationship with Allah. And when the alcoholic reaches rock bottom, it's a different kind of knowing. It's not an intellectual knowing. It is a complete breaking of the lower nafs. It's completely broken, and the alcoholic is left with a deep core knowledge of their own powerlessness and their own frailty and their own dependence on Allah. That's rock bottom. It's like knowing that on my own, of myself, I can do nothing about this. I am powerless. I can't live without alcohol, but I can't live with it, and that is a bleak and terrible place to be. But there's a saying in 12-step groups that if one gets on a lift, an elevator, it's not necessary to go all the way down to the basement. You can get off at any floor. So the rock bottom may be different for each individual. It's what it is. It's that place that drinking brings a person to, where they realise that they cannot do anything about it. They cannot live that way anymore. That they are broken. They are they've reached a point of kind of bankruptcy. And bankruptcy is going human concerns, as it says in the Alcoholics Anonymous literature, and that they're powerless to do anything about it by themselves. It's that complete brokenness, and there's no negotiating with the illness of alcoholism. There's no attempt to negotiate anymore. The individual is broken, and has become teachable in that brokenness. The literature of Alcoholics Anonymous states that going it alone in spiritual matters can be dangerous. And I think as Muslims, we recognize that. You know, a cursory glance at TikTok or YouTube or I don't know, Instagram or whatever, any of these any of these platforms where anybody can put forward an opinion, a religious opinion, and not all of those people are qualified to do so, or to decide that for oneself that one knows the truth. These things can be very dangerous, especially in somebody who has been brought to a point of real sickness, mental, physical, spiritual sickness by the drinking of alcohol. That person is not in a safe place to start making decisions about how to get better. There needs to be a guide, just as a Muslim needs a sheikh or a murshid to guide them to the truth, a true guide, a true teacher. The alcoholic needs somebody who has committed themselves and gone through those 12 steps and had that spiritual awakening, arrived at that place of taqwa in order to guide the new member through it. And that you hear often on popular media when they talk about AA and stuff like that. You hear people talking about the sponsor, and that is essentially the job of the sponsor is to guide the individual through the 12 steps. Now, these are the 12 steps. I've broken them down into 3 different sections here because they are quite, although there's 12 steps and one step opens the door to the next step, they do, hopefully it'll be clear why I've made that distinction. Step 1, we were powerless over alcohol. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, our lives have become unmanageable. Now, that's the rock bottom realization. And these first 3, the white ones, are they're in the form of realizations and decisions. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. Now, only that rock bottom will bring the ego-inflated, nafs-inflated addict to the level of honesty required for recovery. That is why the rock bottom is essential. It breaks through all the lies, all the delusions about who I think I am, who I want other people to think I am. It breaks through all of that. It destroys all of that rock bottom. And it gets the individual to that point of genuine honesty and genuine recognition of powerlessness. And, like tawakkul, only Allah has the power. Now, that would be a bleak place if there was only one step, because, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It's like, I can't live with alcohol, can't live without it. But, and alcohol has created chaos in my life, devastation. But it opens the door to the next step. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. When we're looking at this, I really encourage all of us here to view these through that Islamic lens. A power greater than ourselves, Allahu Akbar, a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Sanity is a strong word, but what does it mean? It means a balanced, correct view of one's situation, and that is gone in the active alcoholic. That no longer exists, and the only sane response when one arrives at rock bottom is to submit, to capitulate, to submit. The war is over. I have no fight left. I am powerless. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Submission, Islam, to submit, to capitulate, to place my will and my life in the care of Allah. Now, those are in the way of realizations and decisions. The next steps 4 to 9 require action. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. This in Islamic terminology might be referred to as muhasabah and nafs, like a sincere self-examination, a sincere examination of where I have arrived as a human being, and the kind of what drinking of alcohol has brought me to. Searching and fearless. We can't pretend And again, the rock bottom gets one to the point where of willingness to do that with like real honesty, to take a real honest, hard look at what I've become. Step 5. Now, step 5 can cause problem for Muslims because we're discouraged from talking about past sin. And it does say admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. But when I was thinking about this, there is a precedent. The Sahaba did go to one another and speak to one another about their defects, and asked indeed to be shown and told about their defects. The Muslim is a mirror to his brother. So there is a precedent, but it has to be done with care. In Alcoholics Anonymous, in the literature, it says we disclosed in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. So that's in the context of meetings, like meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous or one of the other 12-step fellowships, where the individuals are encouraged to speak in a general way, not to get into the grubby detail of their life as a drinking alcoholic. But in order to be free of the addiction, it's essential that the reality, the hard and dark reality of one's life as a drinking alcoholic or addict is disclosed to another human being. And that's to do with humility, because the 12 steps are not 12 steps up to some great spiritual state. They're 12 steps down to humility. Humility being not about making yourself less than or inflating oneself, but about having a true and accurate picture, a right sizing of the nerves. So that's important, right? Step 6, that opens the door to step 6, where we're entirely ready to have God remove all of those defects of character. And, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, only Allah has the power to do that. And then humbly ask, step 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. I'm going to I'm going to finish with a summary of these in an explicitly Islamic context. Step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. And step 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Now, it's interesting that we're at the time of Hajj, because people as Muslims, were encouraged, if a Muslim is going on Hajj, they're encouraged to go to anybody that they have harmed and ask their forgiveness, seek their forgiveness before going on Hajj, to seek Allah's forgiveness. But it's not just about saying sorry. It doesn't say step 8 said we were sorry. It says made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So it's about putting things right. Putting things right. For example, before I talked about how often in a family, the one who is drinking will blame the rest of the family, the wife or the children, for their drinking. So all that kind of blaming and gaslighting has to be put right. The individual has to own it and say, it wasn't you. It's not your fault. It is not anything that you have done. You did not make me drink. It is me. And I am sorry. And I take responsibility for that. So it's stepping up and taking responsibility. And then make direct amends to such people wherever possible. Now, this is important, except when to do so would injure them or others. Nobody has the right to save their own skin at the expense of somebody else's well-being or reputation. So if anybody else is going to be implicated by making those amends, it should not be done. Nobody has the right to save their own skin at someone else's expense. So that is very, very important. Now, steps 10, 11, and 12 are what we might call the maintenance steps. Continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Obviously, this is connected to step 4, the taking of a fearless and searching moral inventory. But it becomes a daily practice to one becomes more and more and more. By practicing the previous steps, one has a more accurate view of reality and recognizes when one has strayed from the straight path. And as in step 10, it encourages you to catch that before it becomes too powerful. So continue to hold oneself accountable and to recognize when one is straying, and then to promptly put that right. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. As Muslims, we have this is about this God consciousness, taqwa. It's about the moral inventory, and the steps 4 till 9 are about clearing out that the conduit that allows the divine light, the nur, to heal the individual. But it becomes so clogged and blocked in the alcoholic or the addict that the nur cannot pass through it. And 4 to 9 are to do with clearing out that conduit, that channel. Yeah. And step 11 is that ongoing process of polishing the heart through salah, through dhikr Allah, through dua, and to keep that channel open, so that the healing light can continue to flow. And step 12, as we've said previously, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. This is about integrating all of this with one's life, so that ibadah becomes everything, and an attitude of service in the world, rather than this selfish, inward-looking existence of the addict. The focus is turned outward to how can I contribute in this world? How can I be of service? Right. So the final part, I've spoken for quite a while, so I want to kind of wind this up and hopefully put it out for a discussion Q&A. But I just to make it a little bit more explicit, to look at the steps, a summary of the steps from an Islamic point of view. Step 1. This is to do with the rock bottom. That experience a depth of personal powerlessness, leading to an authentic, authentic, really internalized understanding of tawakkul. And I love this. I think this really, to me, speaks of the situation for the alcoholic from Surah Ar-Rum. Corruption has appeared on both land and sea because of what people's own hands have brought about, so that they may taste something of what they have done, so that hopefully they will turn back. So that taste is like, it's not about a kind of intellectual knowledge of powerlessness. It's a taste. It's like an experience of it. Step 2, the alcoholic recognizes la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no strength and no power except in Allah. Allah has power over all things, and Allah encompasses all things in His knowledge. That's step 2. It's that recognition, that coming to believe that I'm powerless, Allah has all power. Step 3, making that decision to submit with sincerity to the merciful will of Allah. This is Islam as capitulation, submitting my will to the will of Allah. And it's a decision. And that decision can't be made for the alcoholic. It has to be, they have to experience the rock bottom in order to have an honest enough picture about themselves to make that decision of their own free will. There is no compulsion in religion. The right direction is clearly distinguished from the wrong. Steps 4 and 5 are to do with identifying and owning those negative character traits that have cut off, blocked the divine light of Noor from entering the heart. And it's better for us if we hold ourselves accountable, because we will be held accountable. As Muslims, we believe we will be held accountable. So hold yourselves to account in this world before you're held to account in the hereafter. Steps 6 and 7 are related, I believe, to istighfar, to seeking forgiveness, and shifa, asking for shifa, healing and recovery through Allah's mercy. And Lord, we have wronged ourselves. If you do not forgive us and have mercy on us, we will be among the lost. And step 8 and 9 are to do with this, recognizing that a life lived in addiction harms other people as well, and to really kind of own the harm that's been done, and to seek to repair, to make reparation, and to seek the forgiveness of others, and the forgiveness of Allah. Whoever has wronged his brother with regard to his honour or something, let him ask for forgiveness. But again, that essential caveat: the greatest of care should be taken not to implicate or harm anybody else in that process. Step 10, muhasabat an-nafs, sincere and humble self-examination, becomes an ongoing part of the individual's deen. It's integrated. And step 11, the alcoholic continues to fortify themselves with salah, dua, dhikr Allah. And that refers back to the steps sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, as we understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. And step 12, the alcoholic's ibadah becomes integrated into their life, leading to a life of service. And it's through that life of service that spiritual, physical, mental health comes about, inshallah. And both of these two together are they speak of this God consciousness, as taqwa. I think there's a lot more I could say, but I think it might be best to leave it there. I'll just that's the book, which is available from Taha. It's also available on Kindle and in paperback. Under I had to get permission from Alcoholics Anonymous in New York to refer to the 12 steps, and they insisted that I don't use my full name, so that's why it's under Yunus P. And also there's another book which may be of interest, published by Quilliam, that I wrote a few years ago and was published by Quilliam a couple of years ago, which just charts my own journey. And I'm also at the moment working on a book which deals with, as Brother Syed said, issues of Futuwwah, but which also talks about addiction in that as well. But I think I'm going to stop sharing there, Brother Syed, if that's okay, and I'm going to hand back to you. So thank you all for your attention. I know there was a lot of information there.
Jazakallah khairan, Ustad Yunus, my beloved brother. Please, brothers and sisters, rounds of digital applause. Alhamdulillah Rabbillah. I have my brother Abdullah from Qatar, by the way. Brother Abdullah, nice to see you, man. MashaAllah. We'll soon be with each other in Qatar, inshallah. Lovely to see many great brothers and sisters and colleagues here today. Thank you so much, first and foremost, Ustad Yunus, for your generosity to share your own life experience, first and foremost. I think I speak for the...
I hope it gave you what you needed. Yeah.
Barakallahu feekum, barakallahu feekum. I think it's tremendous when we see our life journey and how it took us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and brought us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that through trials and tribulations and bala and ibtidal, we indeed, through that type of dichotomy, if we're guided correctly, we can come back to reconnecting to fitra and our natural state of tawheed. So it was really astonishing. Your lecture was amazing, and I think all of our brothers and sisters enjoyed it. Jazakallah khairan. Ustad Yunus, we'll take some Q&As now. Brothers and sisters, nobody wrote any questions in the chat. I tried to ask you guys to do it, so feel free to utilize the chat option or the chat function to ask any questions, and we will address it to Ustad Yunus, inshallah. Ustad Yunus, first and foremost, brothers and sisters, we shared the links to the books that Ustad Yunus have published, some of them at least. So if you check the Zoom chat, and we will email it out to all of you, by the way, as well. So all of you who registered for the lecture today, you will receive an email with your permission, Ustad Yunus, if we can share your PowerPoint slides, if you're okay with that. Also with the links to where you guys can purchase the books from Taha Publishing, and also from, I think, which other publishing house was it, Ustad Yunus, that you published your book? Killam Press, right?
William.
Yeah,
William,
Killam.
yeah, Sheikh Abdul Hakim's publisher.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, mashallah, that's a blessed publishing indeed, mashallah. So we will share those links, brothers and sisters, and also other beneficial resources, inshallah. I was thinking I'll start perhaps, and then brothers and sisters, feel free to add your questions in the chat. You can also raise your hands if you want to ask a question. Generally, we tend to ask people to write in the chat because we generally are quite a lot of people joining our lectures, but we're a little bit smaller group today. So inshallah, it will be okay to also raise your digital hand. If possible, though, we prefer if you can ask the questions in the chat. And if you just want to raise a question, please just raise a question, please, without too long of a reflection. That will be much more smoother to conduct the lecture. We already have one question. Brother Lukman, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Luqman Yunus, and I've also took the journey that you did, Brother Yunus.
Wa alaikum salam, bro.
The question is, in your journey, did you ever use the Quran as a healing process? Because I know my healing process was, I was a drug addict. I wasn't alcohol. I was a cold-blooded crackhead. And one day I opened up the Quran and read Surah Yunus Ayat 57, which talks about the healing. And from that day on, I've never used. And that was like 20-something years ago. So, the question is, have you ever thought in your addiction to use the Quran as a healing process?
Jazakallah khair, Brother Lukman. Thank you for
Thank you. Jazakallah khair. Dear brother, first of all, beautiful. Beautiful to hear what you say. I'm so pleased that this has happened for you. I stopped drinking when I was 25 years old, so I was a very young man. I wasn't a Muslim at that point, and my journey from that point was a troubled one. It wasn't a smooth. I didn't just stop drinking and then everything was fine. I had to work very, very hard over a long period of time, and I had to be broken down even further, psychologically, mentally. That rock bottom process didn't just happen once. So even though I'd left alcohol behind, emotionally, spiritually, I had to be broken down further, and that took a long time, and it took a lot of searching, and I did some crazy things over that period of time, trying to find healing. Including running across deserts and running through the Arctic and all crazy things, right? But in an authentic, genuine search for healing. My journey to Islam took a long time. And I was fortunate enough to be introduced to Sheikh Abdul Hakim down in Cambridge. And I used to go over a period of many years, maybe 15 years, back and forward talking to him until I finally accepted Islam. And then I did what you did. Then I saw that 30 plus years of recovery, 12-step recovery, and there all the principles were there in the Quran all along. Alhamdulillah. So it was kind of, for me, it was slightly the other way around. I searched and searched and searched and searched And then I found the truth. I found the Medina of truth, as Sheikh Abdul Hakim says, and my heart found rest. So thank you for your question. I hope that answers your question, and and bless you in your ongoing health and mind, body, and spirit.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Jazakallah khairan, Brother Yunus, for sharing your experience. Brother Luqman, thank you so much. We're very honored to have you with us as well. Brother Luqman wrote that he has been active with a lot of works, working with communities in US with addiction works. Inshallah, we'll be in touch with you, Brother Luqman, and your wife as well.
Wonderful,
You guys are
wonderful,
doing a
wonderful.
phenomenal job, mashallah. Jazakallah khairan, Brother Luqman. There's a lot of questions. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for now sharing more questions and reflections. I just wanted to ask you, Ustad Yunus, with regards to, because we had a conversation before. I had the honor to meet you several times. And yes, it's good to have teachers, as you said. You had Sheikh Abdul Hakim guiding you towards the path and suluk. And I was thinking that we spoke earlier that one of the issues that we're facing is a society that is very addictive in itself. You know, we live in a modern society which is very addictive in itself. There is no ethical standards anymore. It's all about addiction. And when I speak about addiction, it's not only alcohol, consumerism, for instance, fast food, fast communication, everything should be quick, quick buck, make a quick buck. So it's almost like this society feeds to that addictive self, that lower aspect of our nafs, that nafs al-amara bil su, that nafs that is inclined to waswas and shaitan. So what we are noticing in our works, both within ISIP and the Futuwwah Academy, is that a lot of the youths are going astray, and addiction becomes their way of thinking they're reconnecting to fitra or something that is of goodness for them. But they're just filling a void, an empty void. And the void is that they don't have true guidance towards reconnecting an authentic self to fitra and their natural disposition towards something transcendental, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a lot of the youths, and not only youths, even elders, they use addiction as a way to numb the voice of the soul, and to silence the pain. But also it's almost like burying themselves in that pain by using the drugs. And it takes me to what Gabor Mate says about addiction. He worked with a lot of heroinic people that used heroin. And he said that for those that use heroin, it's like getting that hug. And I'm paraphrasing, by the way, so it's not exactly the way that he said, but it's like a mom giving a hug to them. So it's like the hug that they never received from the mother. And we see that with a lot of youths, for instance, that are going into gang violence, selling drugs, using drugs, that it's almost they're feeling a void of something that was not there, like the hug of the mother or the father. So, in your personal experience, how can we address this, and how can we use, because you're referring to the 12 steps program, which is an amazing program. And there is, as you say, so many commonalities between the 12-step program and the 12 steps with Islamic psychology, with Futuwwah, with an Islamic, ontological and epistemological understanding of health and healing, right? What would your suggestion be? How can we help people that are, using, as you said, minor shirk, you spoke about minor shirk, addiction, minor shirk, to reconnect to the fitri ways instead of filling the void with consumerism or alcohol or whatever. I hope my question was clear.
It's a big question. There's a lot
Yeah,
in there, but hopefully I'll be able to respond in some ways. The Yeah, I 100% agree that the world that we live in is this hyper consumerist world. It doesn't want people to exist, to be aware of that transcendent vertical. The fact that the thing that Islam is entirely predicated on,
yeah,
that our reason for existence is to worship Allah.
yeah,
The modern world does not want us to think that way. The
mm,
modern world wants to create artificial needs in us that we
yeah,
spend money to try and fill. So it's about That's why over in recent centuries, there's been this movement away from any sense of the sacred in life. You know, I'll tell you a very brief story. My wife and I had a brief holiday in the county of Yorkshire in England recently. Very beautiful county, and we were staying in a little village, and we went for a walk. And outside, on the outskirts of this village, there was a farmer's field. And in the centre of that farmer's field were in a line, three huge standing stones. 5,000, I read the information thing, 5,000 years they had been there. Nobody knows who put them there, what their purpose was, how they got them there, because they're tens of tons, these things. But when I was looking at them, I thought, okay, these people who put those things there, they brought them apparently 9 miles. They dragged them 9 miles. They invested huge effort. And it was clear to me that there was, however misguided, there was sacred purpose in the effort that they invested to get those things there. It was the sacred was central in their lives. And then we visited a little medieval church, and there was a thing there in the churchyard. There was a thing they called it a weeping cross, and this was a focus for pilgrims and penitents to go to this place and to kneel and seek forgiveness. And there was so many people had done that their knees had worn grooves in the stone. So even for those people in medieval times, the sacred was central for them. We now live in a world where the sacred for most people doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
And they're left with this void. All there is the physical body and the opportunities to satisfy the desires of that physical body. And is it any surprise that the cases of addiction, incidence of addiction is soaring? All sorts of addiction: alcohol, drugs, pornography, shopping, gaming, gambling, all sorts of addiction, because people are desperately trying to satisfy a hunger they don't even understand. They don't recognize that what they're there's this voice of fitra which can never be completely wiped out, is in there, and it's craving tauba. But these people are lost. They don't know that that's what's happening, and so it's finding a way to convey that message. And say to, we spoke before about the boys. The elders are not initiating the boys into secure sacred manhood. So what happens? The boys try to initiate one another, and we end up with this gang violence and addiction. It's a tragedy. But yeah, it's about trying to reconnect people with the sacred, because that's the only thing that will satisfy the hunger. No drug, no drink will ever satisfy that hunger.
Thank you so much,
Only
Ustad
Allah.
Yunus. Jazakallah khairan for these great reflections and nasiha. I appreciate it, and I agree with you 100%. I think Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad spoke about using the Sunnah as the best therapeutic model. The Sunnah has everything that that we long for when it comes to our fitri ways of living, like social cohesion. We have the Jama'ah, you know. As an example, there is so much in the Sunnah that allows us to reconnect them. So yeah, Jazakallah khairan for this great reflection. We have a lot of questions in the chat. Brother Musab from Canada. Welcome, Brother Musab. An honor to have you with us. He says, Jazakallah khairan, Ustad Yunus, for the presentation. Very insightful to see the Muslim perspective of steps. Question for Ustad Yunus. As someone who is part of a 12-step program, step 3 is one that I have struggled a lot with. I would love to learn what your experience was with the step 3. Any difficulties you faced, most importantly, how you were able to give your will over to the care of Allah freely. Any advice for the fellow addict?
I think the key, um, my brother, is to go back to step one. Step one admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Can you own that? Can you really own that? Have you experienced in your core, the core of your being, your own personal powerlessness to affect any change in your life? And when if you can own that, then that opens the door to step two, which says made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. Now that's the point of decision. You've not done it yet. But if you've recognized that your life is unmanageable, that you're powerless over alcohol or drugs or whatever the addiction is, if you really experienced through the rock bottom, if you reach that point of honesty where you can say, yes, I am powerless, I can do nothing about this, then you can make a decision. But there is a power, Allahu Akbar, there is a power that is greater, that can restore me to sanity. Sanity is right thinking, it's having a correct view of the situation. And when you can really say that, that opens the door to step three. Yeah. So it's like one step opens the door to the next. And so I would encourage you, if you're having difficulty with that step, to go back. I'm just looking through the book to see what I've said about that. So I did a little summary of the steps in this book, and it says, to summarize the steps that have been addressed thus far, on experiencing personal powerlessness at depth through the rock bottom, the alcoholic recognizes that la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, there is no strength and no power except in Allah. This realization, this is in response to your question, this realization enables the individual to submit with sincerity to the merciful will of Allah, which is step three. The only sane response to powerlessness is submission to Allah. It's the only sane thing to do. So go back to step one, revisit step one, think about step one, own step one. That will open the door to step two. Reflect on step two. Can you really own step two and inhabit step two? And that will open the door to step three, inshallah.
Jazakallah khairan, Ustad Yunus. I'm mindful of the time. We're over time, but with your permission, Ustad Yunus, if you have maybe, let's say 5-10 minutes more, we'll just, because there's a lot of...
No problem, yeah.
So brothers and sisters, for those who want to continue, we will continue for 10 minutes, inshallah. For those who need to go, no hard feeling at all. We've been very honored and blessed to have you all with us today. By the way, brothers and sisters, I added the WhatsApp group link again. Please, all of you who are interested to work with addiction, all of you who have experiences from, different studies or work or organizations, or if you have personal experiences as well, please join the WhatsApp group. I just shared it in the Zoom chat again. We will also email it out to all of you who have registered for the lecture today. Sister Tree, could you please put the registration link so that for all of you who have not registered for the lecture today, if you want to have access to the PowerPoint presentation and all these links, please register yourself. Sister Tree will share the link for registering for the seminar today. HC1 is writing here. So a person who doesn't want to be mentioned suffered from OCD. It was about shirk and kufr thoughts, and he couldn't find peace in salah. He doesn't find comfort in anything except for his pornography addiction. He doesn't have any hope in Allah that he will get healed and he cannot recover from it. What advice would you give, Brother Yunus? Jazakallah khairan.
It's difficult when you're talking about OCD. That's a specific condition. It's not my. I mean, I think there's often overlap, but the reality of the situation for this person is that they think they're finding comfort in a pornography addiction, but they're not. If it's, I mean, let's say that's not my area of expertise, but if it's an addiction, addiction is by its nature. My addiction was to alcohol, and it's the illusion of comfort, but it's not. It's an illusion. It's not real. The only source of true comfort for the addict is Allah, and it's, people talk about giving up alcohol. What is the person giving up? It's giving up slavery to a chemical that dictates what happens in their life and makes them miserable and humiliates them and destroys their health, destroys their relationships. Giving up alcohol? What is one giving up? It's freedom. To leave the addiction behind is freedom and peace. But the OCD that you mentioned, that may need treatment separately, which I'm not qualified to speak about.
Can I,
Because
with your permission, can I answer the OCD part? Because I
Yeah.
work with OCD clients.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
With your permission, Ustad Yunus. So thank you, HC, for the question. And mashallah, Ustad Yunus gave a lot of great feedback and reflections. OCD is, for all of you who do not know, it's obsessive compulsive disorder. It's biological to a certain degree. You're born with it, or genetically, it can be it could be a genetical disposition that you have it in your family. And when it comes to the biological aspect of it, the medication is what generally is recommended. SRIs, for instance, or other medication. So do consult with a person who is a psychiatrist or general practitioner for that. The psychological aspect you can always work on. And yes, one way of coping with OCD could be porn or other form of addiction as a way to cope with the distress. And as Ustad Yunus has said in his terrific lecture, um, um, addiction is a maladaptive way of coping with a disconnection, with fitra, for instance. Now, when it comes to OCD, my beloved brother or sister, by the way, whoever it is, um, I think compassionate ways to break the rigidist thinking that creates ruminations, that creates some form of distress and anxiety, that in itself brings compulsions, to be compassionate. It's okay. We can worry, we can have anxiety. Even though OCD is a maladaptive anxiety, it's okay. We're all human beings. We're not perfect. The thing is that people who have OCD, not all types of OCD, but certain aspect of OCD, seeks for perfection. We need to be perfect. I need to do my salah perfect. I need to have my khushu perfect. I need to close my door perfect. And perfection is only in Allah's realm. We as human beings are imperfect. And this is the beauty of us as creation, that in the imperfection as part of the creation, you see perfection. Because if you're perfect, then you might think, oh, I'm better than Allah, astaghfirullah, right? We have perfected people. So we call the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we call him what? Insan al-Kamil. That means a perfected person, a perfected human being. So that's why we follow the sunnah, right? So when we tell people with OCD, if it's like scrupulosity, like it's a religious form of OCD, we tell them follow the sunnah. If the Prophet ﷺ did wudu in that way, don't do it less or more. The way the Prophet did is the best way, and then leave it. And then we often speak about typology of thoughts. If it's like ruminations, waswas, that you're not judged by your thoughts. You know, you're judged by your actions, but not your thoughts. You can have thoughts that even could lead to things that might be very much against the creed of Islam. As long as you don't act upon it, you will even not be judged about it. So it's about differentiating and understanding where these thoughts comes from. But ultimately,
Can
what
I,
I
can,
would say,
can I make? Can
yeah,
I?
yeah,
Sorry to cut across you, but I know we're really limited on time. I just wanted just to make one comment. yes, the OCD may need treatment, but but the addiction that this person is experiencing, just praying more, like you say, is going to potentially could feed the OCD, I think. But praying, although obviously a great thing, is not in and of itself going to, heal the addiction without a process. A process. So follow. That's why I speak about the 12 steps through an Islamic lens as a transformative process. So
Yeah.
one has to go back to the beginning and experience that powerlessness, that sense of powerlessness, that brokenness, and then build from there through the process. And then step 11, it's not until step 11 that we start talking about prayer and meditation. Yeah. So it's work through the process to achieve the healing. Just the prayer without the process, it's going to be less effective, I think, for somebody in that position.
MashaAllah. Thank you for the clarification, Ustad. So exactly as Ustad said, it's a process. It's not a project. Things will go up and down. We're not seeking for perfection in anything. We're seeking to please Allah and do our best. And I think that part of the OCD and why some people might use addiction as a way to cope with it. Essentially, addiction is a quick fix for a larger issue. It's a quick fix, but the quick fix will not give you the barakah. And then you can always do tawbah. You can always do tawbah. You can always repent because you will not alleviate yourself from addiction directly, as Ustad said. Tawbah, is to actually know that I will always try my best to reconnect and not do it again. Because we're not seeking perfection, we're seeking to please Allah.
There's an issue with that with chemical addictions like alcohol and drugs, because in a sense one could say that step one is the only step that has to be done perfectly. I can try. I'm not going to be able to do any of the rest of that if I pick up an alcoholic drink. None of the rest of it's going to happen. So that it has to begin with not drinking. So on a daily basis, first job, don't drink alcohol, and then the rest of it can happen. Yeah.
It's actually very important because Ustad Yunus speaks about the first step being we admitted we are powerless over alcohol, right? That our lives had become unmanageable. So that's actually, as you said, it's very connected to the first step of tawbah as well, right? That you recognize your sin. And then,
Absolutely, see it.
but what would you say, Ustad Paul, just as a quick question? We have a lot of people that might relapse. What would you tell them because we shouldn't relapse, right? But sometimes the urge is too strong.
Yeah.
How
Look,
can you give them the hope there?
we are powerless. Humans are frail and weak, and you know, just like you said, tauba, start
Yeah.
just turn back again, because it may be that, I mean, I know many people who were in and out of recovery for years. I've worked with people that were in and out for a number of years before they reached that point that was rock bottom for them, where they
Mm,
actually experienced that inner sense of powerlessness.
mm,
And then they were able to build on that and work the 12-step program and get better and arrive at that spiritual awakening, which is the purpose of the 12 steps. And when you have the spiritual awakening, because see that the thing that people don't understand often, who are looking in from the outside, is it's not me that keeps me sober. It's
mm.
Allah that keeps me sober. What I do is I submit to the will of Allah, and Allah does not want me to drink alcohol. So if I
Yeah.
submit my will to Allah's will, I will not drink alcohol.
Subhanallah.
But I have to reach that point of brokenness before I'm ready to honestly, authentically submit. And I've been doing that for 36 years. It's possible.
MashaAllah. 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 You're such a great role model for us. MashaAllah. May Allah bless you, bro. Ustad Yunus. Thank you for this remarkable nasiha. It's really, really, really important for us to try to implement it, inshallah. Sister Valina is asking, How should we interpret substance use, such as alcohol or cigarette addiction, when it stems from early exposure to family environments that normalize these behaviors? For instance, some individuals may justify smoking by referring to the absence of a clear prohibition in Islamic teachings. How might we effectively support and guide individuals in such situation towards recovery and spiritual growth? Jazakallah khair.
Yes, it's again. I mean, I know I keep bashing on about this, but um, it's it requires if the individual, whether it be alcohol or drugs or even cigarettes, I guess, yeah, um, the individual must get to the point where it is no longer tolerable to them. There is no compulsion in religion. Similarly, I can't force anybody to get sober or to stop using drugs or to stop smoking cigarettes. The person has to get to that point where it's not tolerable. They cannot live like that anymore. And then, regardless of family background or of cultural influences on them, and environmental influences, that person has to take responsibility for their own recovery, and submit their will to make a decision. You know, like I say, step two made a decision to turn their will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. So the decision is responsibility of the individual, regardless of environment. I remember somebody once saying to me, and I thought I didn't understand it at the time. I had to think about it for a long time. But they said that my this person said my recovery. He was an alcoholic. He said my recovery and my life are two different things.
Mm,
And I thought, what? That doesn't make sense to me. Surely your
mm,
recovery is central to your life. But what
mm,
that person meant is I cannot and will not make my sobriety contingent on the circumstances of my life.
mm,
So the addiction is not contingent on the circumstances of life. Yeah,
mm,
because it's a submission to the will of Allah, and Allah is not, it doesn't answer to any of the circumstances of life. So if
subhanallah,
Allah wants an individual to be sober, and the individual has submitted their will and their life to Allah, then they will be sober.
subhanallah, subhanallah, subhanallah. Thank you so much for your great answers, Ustad Yunus. We appreciate it. MashaAllah, we're benefiting so much by listening to you. So much wisdom, MashaAllah. We have two, three more questions. I'll go quickly through them. Sister Sophia, our great colleague from UK, she writes, can these 12 steps be used for any type of addiction or can we adapt them? Adapt them? And then Sister Maryam is writing that she has adapted it actually. MashaAllah, that's a great Sister Maryam. We're looking forward to learn from you, inshallah. That's amazing. And she shared her work on the chat as well. MashaAllah, that's amazing. Thank you for your generosity, sister. Any adaptation that you know about, Ustad Yunus?
So
Adaptation of
I'm
12
sorry,
steps.
I kind of broke down a bit there. I didn't hear the
No, no,
person's
so the
question.
question was, can these 12 steps be used for any type of addiction or can we adapt them? So can
Yeah,
they be
no,
used
no,
for any
they've been adapted throughout the years. Ustad Lokman just shared about Milati Islami, which is
yeah.
an Islamic organization which has taken the 12 steps and adapted them for an Islamic context. I don't know much about Milati Islami, but I know they're doing a lot of good work in the States in particular. But yes, I mean, there's been many adaptations, and these steps have been used as a basis for recovery from alcoholism. They've been used to support the recovery of family and friends of alcoholics who are not drinking alcohol themselves at all, but they realise that they've become ill, and they use the steps to recover from that and to get their own needs met more effectively. Narcotics Anonymous, even Overeaters Anonymous, people with eating disorders have used the 12 steps to recover. It's been adapted extensively over the last 50 years or so, so yes, it can be adapted. I think it's look at the steps, look at them through an Islamic lens, and substitute the the references to alcohol for whatever is the focus of the addiction. I mean, like I say, I can't speak with authority on other addictions because what I know about is alcohol addiction, but it has been done, and it has been done successfully. So yeah.
Jazakallah khairan. I just want to say to all of you that please, if you know more organizations, like for instance, the organization that Brother Luqman spoke about, which is Milati Islami, mashallah, we will looking forward to work with them. So Ustad Luqman, we will be in touch with you, inshallah, and find ways to collaborate together because I think we need to join forces as different organizations, movements, and individuals to work together because this is a pandemic. I just came back from Pakistan. My brother Mohammed Bilal from Pakistan is here. By the way, the lecture is over, so now we're just connecting with one another. So, Jazakallah khairah for everyone for joining. So, essentially, join the WhatsApp group, brothers and sisters. Our aim in ISIP, the International Students of Islamic Psychology, and the Futuwwah Academy of Sacred Manhood and Sacred Womanhood, is to bring resources, collaborate with different organization institutions to learn from each other. And we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We have now the Milati Islami, for instance. We can utilize their work and work with them. We have Ustad Paul's book, Ustad Yunus' book. We have other organizations working. And we have 30 chapters all over the world, and we're building local Futu academies everywhere. So we can utilize these methodologies and work together and support one another as different movements and organizations. So join the group so we can work together. And literally, the pandemic is there. The pandemic is there. I just came back from Pakistan, a lot of issues in Pakistan with addiction, Iran, Afghanistan, Somalia, India, all over the world. In the West, as Ustad Yunus and I spoke about with the gang violence, the drug dealers, all these things, whether it's North America or Europe, so we need to come together because this is affecting the Muslim communities, the Muslim society as well. So hopefully we can work together. And also, as some of the questions, it's not only alcohol we're speaking about. For instance, in ISIP, we have a task force that we're just dealing with porn addiction, for instance, from an Islamic psychological lens. So if you guys are interested, feel free to join this movement. We always say that ISIP is your movement, your organization. We're a grassroots-oriented movement, inshallah. The final question and reflection here today, brothers and sisters, was from Brother Saleh. MashaAllah, Brother Saleh, really nice to see you here. Brother Saleh is doing a terrific job as well. So many great people. Your sister Maryam has adopted the 12 step. We will share it, inshallah. Brother Luqman and his wife are working with Milat Islamiyah and other amazing organizations in North America. And also, they're having some meetings in London. We will share the meeting dates, inshallah. If you give me the meeting dates, Brother Luqman, we will share it to all of our participants. Brother Saleh says, Assalamu alaikum, Ustad Yunus. Good to see you. I currently work as a support worker for people with serious multiple disadvantages, including alcoholism and other addictions. I have lived experience of recovery, but not alcoholism. Our service users are mainly the long-term homeless, but not exclusively. We follow a harm reduction approach, starting with the principle of housing first. For example, once people are in accommodation, they are more likely to benefit from wraparound support. The service is into two parts. Half of our projects accommodates people in active use, and they are gradually coached through reduction plans and mental support, etc., before going through detox and moving to the abstinence side. I've only come across 3 Muslim services users during my time, and the services sees Muslim as hard to reach. Do we have any data on how common alcohol addiction is in our community? Any data?
I don't have access to the data. I don't know what the figures are. I'm sorry, it's not something I can respond to.
Okay.
I have misgivings about the harm reduction approach. I mean, clearly it's well intended, and it. I mean, I'm sure it has reduced suffering for a lot of people, but it's almost like I'm so kind of convinced that abstinence is necessary, and the recognition of powerlessness over the alcohol or the drug is the beginning of recovery. And it seems to me, and this is just a personal view, that the harm reduction thing has it kind of back to front. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get people housed and they get their health needs met, but I've seen it too often I've seen too many people die because abstinence wasn't put first. That sounds like very, very harsh, but I have seen it over the years, and it's heartbreaking. But it has its place. It has its place. Harm reduction has its place. But there is. Would have to say that there's a tension between that approach and the approach that I would be most comfortable with.
Jazakallah khairan, Ustad Yunus. Thank you, Brother Saleh, for your amazing work. Inshallah, we'll be in touch. I saw your details there, inshallah. Um, so we're coming to the end now. I'm so sorry, Ustad Yunus, for taking so much of your time. I just thought all the questions were amazing. We have so many great people here working with our communities. May Allah grant all of you tawfiq, brothers and sisters, for the tremendous efforts you guys are doing. Round of applause to our Ustad Yunus once more. Jazakallah khairan for giving out of your precious time to allowing us to benefit from your vast amount of knowledge and expertise and experience. We're looking forward to work with you. Ustad Yunus will be part of our initiatives, dear brothers and sisters, as our leader, as our advisor, inshallah. Had the honor to be with Ustad Yunus twice in Scotland, and we said we need to work together, and Allah finally gave us the opportunity today. I also want to thank you all for your amazing questions, brothers and sisters, and for all of your great remarks. I really appreciate you all. We learned so much by your participation. Stay in touch with us through our WhatsApp groups, through our newsletter. I also want to vouch for Brother Luqman from Germany. He's one of our great colleagues in ISIP. He's part of ISIP Germany and Futuwwah Academy Germany. He has an initiative called Al Mudmin in Stuttgart. They're doing a terrific job, and we're working with them as well. So we will share his organizations, his initiatives as well. ISIP German speaking chapter has an initiative tomorrow. They're establishing the German speaking chapter. So if you're from Germany, please join us. Inshallah, we have Sister Jamila with us here, one of our great leaders. Also, ISIP's Norwegian chapter, I saw a sister from Norway, is also being established. Feel free to join as well. Would you like to say anything before we end, Ustad Yunus? Any last words, dua, whatever?
No, it's been an honor. Brother Sally made a comment in the chat there. Yeah, and I recognize your name, brother. Yeah, and we've met actually 2 or 3
MashaAllah.
times
MashaAllah.
going back through the years.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful.
and bless you for the work that you do. You know, yeah, it's you're helping,
MashaAllah.
and you're reducing suffering. But just in closing, just thank you everybody. It's a tricky one for me, because there's the principle of anonymity, which I've
Yeah.
chosen to actually break my anonymity. But the reality is that I have experience which inshallah can ease suffering. So I feel a responsibility to try and at least try and be of service and share some of that knowledge. So I made that decision, but I try and I try and protect my anonymity as far as I can. But if I feel there's a good reason to break it, then I will. And so that's why I've made that decision today. And yeah, bless you all, and thank you very much for listening.
Jazakallah
I
khair,
hope it was
Ustad
useful.
Yunus. I appreciate you breaking it, even though I understand. I mean, even in our tradition, it's anonymity is important. I actually asked some of my teachers about this. Just maybe it's good for all of us to reflect that we should, things that Allah has covered, we shouldn't uncover it. Of course, that is the
Yeah.
statement. My teacher told me that, or several of my teachers told me that if it's a benefit for the ummah and you've been through something and you're not doing it as a way to romanticize it or, glorify it, but it's as benefit for the ummah, that you share your story and you have a platform and it will benefit, then it could be useful to do it sometimes. But ask your teachers. It's always good to have teachers. As Ustad Yunus said, he
Yep.
spoke with Sheikh Abdul Hakim, one of the greatest teacher you can have. But we, speak with, your teachers, with the shuyukh, with your guide. Always have somebody with you when you want to share something that is sensitive. Just don't do it by yourself. Because we've seen recently a lot of brothers, I don't want to mention any names, who converts to Islam or reverts to Islam. Without proper guide, you can easily go astray. So you need to detox yourself. That's why they say is sometimes in our tradition, you need to go to khilwa first, being uzla, khilwa, seclusion, for a couple of years, detox yourself, then come back and share your story. But if you just start to share a story without that detox phase and having teachers or a good jama'at surrounding you, then it's easy to go astray. May Allah guide us all, by the way. I can go astray tomorrow. That's why I need to have a teacher, and that's why I need to have good companions, a good sohbah. All these things are very important to nurture ourselves and to stay connected and stay grounded. So ask guidance. And with that we can definitely be of service, even sharing stories if it's needed. So that is just what my teachers have given me from the Siyah, and I'm just passing it to you guys. It's not from me. And to be in a good sohbah and have good companions that can support you in your trajectory. Because some of the brothers, may Allah guide us all, by the way. I'm not here to judge them at all. I just say that if you don't have proper guide, maybe then, suddenly you tell a story and then, things might go wrong. So let's be in touch. That's why we're creating this movement, brothers and sisters, with the Futuwwah Academy, ISIP, so we can stay in touch and be with each other and learn from each other. Thank you so much, Ustad Yunus. Round of applause once more to our esteemed Ustad. Please buy his books and support his amazing work. We will share all the links. We already shared them a couple of times in the Zoom chat. We will share them through the email. We will email out Ustad's PowerPoint presentation details where you guys can, buy his books, contact details to Ustad, and also all other resources that we've spoken about, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan to everybody. Make dua for everybody that is going through trials and tribulations, inshallah. May Allah relieve everybody from addiction. May Allah changes this society that is an addictive society, brothers and sisters. We are all the creation of a society, and sometimes they want to put it on the addict, but we need to also put it on the society that creates addicts, because the society in itself, nobody wants to cancel the society, brothers and sisters. Everybody's canceling individuals, but these individuals can become closer to Allah than what we are, you never know, you never know. But we have a society that is canceling the individual, but not canceling the society. And we are, as Muslims, against cancel culture of people. We cancel actions, not people. We cancel actions, not people. People can change, they can do tawbah. May Allah make it easy for all of our people, all of our brothers and sisters. Let's show compassion to those brothers and sisters that are suffering by addiction, the way that Ustad Yunus spoke about. Let's use compassion and rahmah, because this society doesn't have any compassion. They're canceling this individual. They don't see that this is the capitalistic framework that are creating these diseases of the hearts. So let's make dua for all of our brothers and sisters. Let's make dua that we can show compassion. Let's help all countries who need help with our resources. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Al-Fatiha. Jazakallah khairan, Ustad Yunus. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Without any further ado, we will end today, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, Sister Tree, for your amazing work. Sister Nadira, Sister Dania, Brother Muhammad Bilal, Sister Fatima, all the colleagues. Jazakallah khairan. Ustad Yunus, extend my greetings to your family, inshallah. We'll speak soon. It was such an honor to meet you and to learn from you. Thank you. Forgive me for any shortcomings from my side. Jazakallah khairan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.